record on this. There you go. Even if I didn't tell you I was going to do it, they would have outed me there anyway. So
you can't miss it now.
No, it's a good thing though.
It is.
All right, I'm going to get a little bit formal and do the intro. Just catch my breath before I do that. And oh gosh, people are coming in like crazy. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, all good. Now, I'd like to welcome you all to this session with the wonderful Toni Lontis, who's going to talk to us about how she can guarantee 1 million people, or we'll say thereabouts, 1 million people will get to hear your message when you go onto her online radio program. And I'm really excited to be able to share this with you and actually to drill in a little bit more than what I even know about what Toni does. And Toni, I want to thank you so much because you are an invaluable person for me to have within my Author Business Hub. Now, this is what I'll be launching next month, so I won't talk too much about it, but you have built an incredible business in an incredibly efficient way, let me put it that way. And I'd love to hear a bit more about that. But just for the beginning, I want you to tell us the story behind the radio program that you run.
Thank you, Jane. And it's such a privilege to be invited to talk to your network. And I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity. So thank you very much, Jane. It's been quite a journey. I've gone effectively from a 35-year career in nursing to being an online broadcaster, which sounds a little like completely out of left field, but if I explain the story behind that, you'll understand a little more. So I was born with certain challenges in my life, from a congenital facial defect, which left me with left-sided facial palsy, which still has the remnants visible today, although not as readily visible as it was when I was younger. Born into a farming family, which is a tough life. Grew up with fairly dysfunctional family dynamics, into working and nursing from 17 and entering adult life with a lot of trauma. And in the background of that was undiagnosed depression and anxiety. Skip forward to my 40s, where I had the first of my major breakdowns. And for the first time in my life, I allowed myself to get help and start to heal and deal with that trauma. Into that space of time came another incredibly traumatic time when my then 18-year-old daughter disclosed a history of sexual abuse at the hands of the man I was about to marry in 2 weeks. So that was my life as I entered my 40s. And throughout my 40s and into my 50s, I started on an incredible journey of healing, learning, education, and self-discovery. And despite all of that, I still managed to have quite a high-level corporate job. I ran my own consulting company and zapped across Australia, prepping day surgeries and hospitals to meet the national safety standards. And then I got further down my healing journey, and people, as I started to talk a little bit about what I'd been through, people's first and foremost response was, you need to write a book. My psychologist at the time had been encouraging me to journal as a pathway to healing and understanding what I'd been through. And then there's the acceptance that, well, I thought things were pretty crappy, and it turns out they indeed were. However, as I got to that point where I felt that I could talk about my story, I actually did sit down to write. So I stopped the consulting company. I sat down in the July. I wrote until the November. Did layout, and the editing started in November, and did layout, and finally went to publish in January 2019. And I had no plan, which is a crazy way to do things, guys, and I don't encourage you to do that. However, if you're following something that you feel is your destiny, and if you're following your life and allowing it to flow from a point of heart-centeredness and soul-drivenness, things happen in a way that they're meant to happen. I published the book and I had a desire to do the audio version of the book. And what happened was I found a wonderful audio producer in Brisbane in Queensland, and she encouraged me and wanted me to narrate that myself. I said, no way, no how, but she was persistent, and eventually she promised to help me and guide me through that process. And it's quite a long process to narrate your own book. So probably I think there were about 6 to 8 uh, 2 to 3 hour sessions of narrating your book. It's quite an arduous process to go through, and particularly for my book, because it talks a lot about trauma, and I had only ever written about that. I'd actually never spoken aloud all the elements of the story, so it was quite challenging at times. But my glorious producer got me through that. Simone from Brisbane Audio Book Production is an amazing individual. At the end of that, she sat me down and said, Toni, there's something really special about your voice, and there's something really special about your tone. Have you thought about radio or podcasting? And I am by nature very introverted and quite shy. And I was taken aback and said, no, this is enough. That's enough for me. So got the book done into audio version, got it out there, started building my social media network. So that's, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all of them. And I had a chance conversation with a media company in America who got me eventually on a call when I'd asked some questions about podcasting because I didn't know anything. And he got me on that call and talked to me about the difference between live streaming radio and podcasting. And then what happened after that was he explained to me the cost of being on a live streaming platform. And as 2019 was my year of saying yes without fear or reservation, I talked to my husband and he said, why don't you give it a go? So Radio Toni was born. And simply, he asked me, what are you going to call your show? And I'm like, I have no idea. Radio Toni was the first thing that popped into my head. And so that's what it became. So I spent the first 6 months streaming live audio from Miami in the United States and out to the world. And I discovered, despite being sick before I got on the microphone each and every week, I actually discovered how much I loved talking to people about their individual stories. And I discovered an intuitive interview style that appeared to bring out things that people would not normally talk about. They talked to me about it live on air. So towards the end of that year, I thought, I love doing this. Am I crazy? I'm a midlife girl with a history in nursing, no knowledge about broadcasting. Do I have the right to do this? But I was encouraged by a lot of people around me and excited, and people were interested in what I had to say and what my guests had to say. And I thought I need to create a business around this so it generates income, because I wasn't making income from the book. I think everyone writes a book and thinks that they're going to be a bestseller. And yes, there's pathways to do that. And Jane can help you with those sorts of things, but I didn't know that back then. What developed from that was I found another platform which offered audio and video streaming, just like TV. And I embarked on an audio video Toni TV style program. I got asked by lots of people, I want to do this. I'm too scared to do it by myself. Will you do it with me? And that's how the co-series products were developed, so that I can co-host with business owners or authors and do your social media, the strategy behind your shows, because there needs to be a strategy behind your shows. There needs to be some elements that are important for the audience to capture. You don't want to waste your time on live streaming media without having some sort of plan. So my company does all of that, the social media, the blogging, the email, all of that. All you have to do is commit to the time and the money, and we'll do the rest for you. So that's radio and Toni TV. I also, in addition to my co-host series of shows, I have 2 shows of my own. One is called A Conversation with Kez, and that's co-hosted with the glorious Kez Wickham St. George, who is an international best-selling author in her own right. And we host that on Wednesday mornings. And then my business show, where I interview all sorts of amazing business owners about their particular business, and that's on Thursdays. And in addition to that, there's co-hosted series of shows, and I've got a number of those coming up in the next little while, which I'm incredibly excited about. So that's enough about me, Jane. Next question.
Actually, it's not. But what I want to do is just digress a little bit to say about your audiobook, because, of course, when we first met, which was only a very little while ago, I thought, oh, I got to listen to this audiobook because I'm an audiobook fanatic anyway.
Well, I am too.
You can't really say it's a page turner because there's no pages, but I could not stop listening. It is
Jane.
It's so true about your voice, but there was that, the way that you've woven the story, and it's not too dark, although the topic is as dark as heck.
It is dark.
It's as dark as heck, but you've measured. It's a measured approach. It's a fantastic book, and kudos to you for actually putting that out into the world, because we can only imagine the difference that makes to people in a similar position. And it is staggeringly upsetting to know how many people are in that position. And for some reason, and I think it is the book writing, the healing of the book writing, so many people through my program have a similar story. And I just think, oh, gee, what does this say about the world? But
It does say horrible things about the world, but here's what's behind that. I actually have a really deeply held belief that those painful things that we go through in our human experience are lessened when we shine a light and we talk about them. I know that's been incredibly true for me, and I've had lots of emails and lots of discussions with people who've been through trauma. And absolutely, without a doubt, if you hold that secret deep inside your heart and you never talk about it and you never open it up to discussion, it festers and it results oftentimes in physical and emotional disease. So I actually encourage people to shine the light on their darkness. And is it hard to do? God damn, it's hard to do. You have, in the words of Brene Brown, a vulnerability hangover that lasts a substantial amount of time. Not so much for me now. I can readily talk about elements of my story without too much angst. But in the beginning, every single time there was that hangover of, oh my God, what have I done? How silly could I be? Why am I talking about this? But the greater good is served when you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to share those stories that have human impact, because they give others hope and courage and strength. And then they don't get that feeling that I had of being completely alone. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like that again. And it's also the premise behind my broadcasting now is I don't want you to feel alone, because being in public, putting yourself on video and putting yourself on audio is some of the scariest things that humans do. There's lots of people out there that love it, but there are others of us that are very introverted. And the thought of getting on a live stream and talking about either your book or your business is absolutely terrifying. And I don't want people to feel like that, because it's the best medium to reach people outside of Australia and across the world. So my audience stretches from the 39% that sit in the USA, the 37% that sit in Germany, the 14% in Russia and UK, and then the balance of the rest of the world. And then if you add to that elements of social media, bingo, you've got a bigger audience than you ever dreamed of, and it's yours to use each and every week if that's what you decide to do.
And
Versus traditional media is a one-off show and you're gone and forgotten tomorrow.
that was the question I was going to ask you about, that
Yeah.
comparison between these two different avenues for getting the message out there.
Yeah. I always, when I released my book, it was my greatest dream to get on some of the known national networks and programs. But then I discovered that you can create that level of audience engagement across the world simply by being uniquely you. So I discovered that the platforms in the US, they come with an existing audience and listenership. So by leveraging my little audience and, well, bigger audience now, but by leveraging myself, connecting to them, and then connecting to my guest or my co-host or the business that I'm working with, that quadruples the effect that you can have. If you're doing it just by yourself, say you were going to embark on a podcasting route, that's fine. But do you understand the length of time it takes, unless you have and I'm not suggesting that none of you would be brilliant at podcasting, but that takes a substantial amount of time to grow your audience and an investment in all the things that you need to do around that podcast to make it successful. Whereas if you pick a platform that's up and running, they've got an existing audience. So it's then leveraging their audience and network with yours and someone else's. And you get, in my instance, the people that work with me, they get that live show each and every week. And then the live show is converted to a podcast and distributed worldwide. And then the live video is uploaded to Toni TV channels on Roku, Samsung, and LG smart TVs across the planet, plus the binge networks in the US. So what we're doing is we're leveraging that one live show into multiple other avenues to get you in front of as many people as possible. And then those live shows, they are yours. So I do everything from the distribution, etc., with those shows, but then I send you the files. And you can put them on your website. You can put them on the social media. You can chop them up into videos, audio bites, social media posts. They're yours to keep. And that's the other important thing. Often with the bigger networks, they have ownership of your content. Whereas if you do it this way, you have ownership of your content. And I can tell you, one 55-minute show will adequately deliver a month to 6 weeks worth of social media content easily. And it's just a matter of repurposing what you've got.
This is insane.
Pardon me, Jane.
Yeah, you go. I had no idea that was how it worked. That makes so much sense. I'm flabbergasted though about that opportunity on all of those platforms. This is really starting to make a heck of a lot of sense now, because I was really, racking my brains about, I'm having a conversation with you when we first met, lovely person, genuine person, incredible story, but it was still bugging me. And a bit of comparisonitis, thinking, how the hell did she build that business so quickly? I want that information. You found that medium that is, I'm barely able to work my phone, frankly, Toni, but it's that thing about the 21st century in terms of what you can do, what the average person can do, and you've packaged it up. I just love it. I love this.
And see, the other thing is that we're all busy people, particularly authors and business owners. You're always working on the next project. So part of using those American platforms is that it's all done over Zoom or Skype. They grab your raw live interview, they edit it, audit it, and send it back to you. They do the distribution. And then on top of that, if you add your own efforts you can really expand your reach. So it took me, and this took me a while to discover this, because from my perspective, Australians weren't familiar with online radio or streaming TV. We're becoming much, much better at that, but it's big in the US. The other thing is that if you're an Australian and you're wanting US dollars for your books, your products, whatever it is that you do, you want your money in US dollars. So if you partner with a US based platform, you get that American audience just by fact that you're partnered with that platform anyway. And then it's just about expanding your reach from there. We had one author on my show, and he just comes on periodically and does one show, and he has a big following in the US, and he has a substantial email list and substantial followers. However, when he came on the show, his website traffic increased by 37% 24 hours post the show. His sales increased 12% post show. His email subscribers went up 12% post show. So those sorts of things can happen, and it's variable and depends on the day of the week and the time that the show goes to air. But those are the sorts of results that you can create with a little bit of work and forethought. And again, that's what led to my co-hosted shows, where we start to work together. We do one-on-ones and some strategy and education, and off we go.
Tell me a little bit more about your work with authors, though, because I know I used to think I was a big deal with my author showcase events, which I'll still take credit for, though, because that is a fabulous piece of footage I get back.
It is.
Authors. But hey, what do you know? When I'm looking at your website, I see one of my authors, Michelle Slide, who spoke at the last showcase, and she's one of your your co-pilots. Co-host, yeah. Tell us a little more, not to go too much into Michelle's story, but with
no, that's fine.
That package.
Michelle's incredible human being, and she wrote an amazing book on sexual assault, which is kind of a tricky subject. However, we did a series of 6 shows on exactly that topic. And so she wanted to talk about the book. She wanted to talk about the elements of the book, and she wanted to tell people how she helps in that her particular area of expertise. And I guess that's what the crux of the shows comes back to. Every human's unique. You have unique skills and knowledge. And there are humans across the planet that need your help, need your understanding and your education. So with Michelle, we packaged that up into 6 shows. We divided the 6 shows up into different elements that related to her book. And then the final show was about connecting people and how they connect with her, how she can help them, and her programs. And that's what I do. So I'm very passionate about my businesses, i.e. my co-hosts that I work with. I want results for you. So it's for some, and results look different for different people. So for Michelle, it was an awareness and an online presence. For others, it's about sales of their courses. For others, it's about show me how to do this and then I'll go and do it myself. So one of my co-hosts at the beginning of the year is an energy healer, and her expertise is in a subject called crystal surgery. But let me tell you, they have been by far the most popular shows that we've done so far. So her average views after her shows on YouTube were in the thousands. And subsequent to that, she's been picked up by another network in the States and has gone on to co-host with her husband another new series of shows. So it's not always about sales. It's sometimes about getting you out there, getting you in front of more people that go, oh my God, I want to work with Jane. I've heard about what Jane does. I want to work with Jane. It's as simple as that.
And the other piece in there as well, Toni, is that it's content creation. So I know that some of my authors at the showcase, and I bet some of yours here too, are thinking about, okay, if I can be strategic about what I say and how I say it, it could become a 6-video lead magnet or something. It could be a 6-week
Absolutely.
online program. So it's that whole thing of being strategic, and you said that earlier too, of
Yes.
think about,
Yes.
work
So
with the end in mind.
exactly. So some of my co-hosts have gone on to do exactly that. We've done the 6 shows and they've created that into a series of webinars. Others have taken portions of that and used it for staff education. One of my co-hosts, who I still talk to lots of my co-hosts all the time. And one of them, we still have a monthly call just because I love her to death. And she said that she's still getting, we did our show in September last year. She's still getting connections, contacts, and emails on the back of that show. So the content actually it stays around for a substantial amount of time. And of course, it's always there on YouTube. And she said to me the other day when she rang that one of her newest clients had actually gone onto YouTube to have a look at the stuff that we've been talking about. And her subject is corporate governance and heart-centered leadership. So it's about risk management and being a director of a corporation, that sort of stuff, which, you know, most of us would not be too interested in, but it was good because I've had that corporate experience. So I could talk and understand exactly what she was saying and therefore be passionate. And I guess that comes back to the book too, Jane. There's a lot of history, wisdom, and story in that in my life. So I can actually usually any subject that someone wants to talk about, I've got some knowledge and experience. And if I haven't, then I'll find it.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, the thing I am very curious about is your POS system. It's not point of sale.
Yeah.
So let us know what it is.
I realized that after we did it and thought, oh gosh, that probably wasn't the best. And I thought, oh, it's really simple. So POS stands for preparation, organization, and showtime. So preparation is about that market research, the research that I do into you, your business, your books, the knowledge I get from the information that we get from you. And it's about preparing. It's about the strategy and it's about setting up the technical components that make the show better than the rest. So the intros, outros, doing advertisements if they're applicable, all those things go into preparation. And then comes the organization, and that's making sure that you've got a wonderful Zoom background if that's what you want. It's about creating the social media and the social media collateral that we use throughout the program. It's about making sure that we have a time in your diary that you know about and that you're prepared for. And all of the things that go into producing a live show. It's telling you about microphone technique. It's talking about camera and camera work. All of those things go into that section. And then the last time is showtime. And that's where you'll feel the pre-show nerves. And many, many people go, oh my God, what have I done? This is really scary. But I create a safe space for you and I to create the magic that makes a great show. And I know this because often, like many, many times, people say to me, this is a safe space. I feel so safe talking to you. And that's what I want to create, because when you're feeling safe, then you intuitively give the audience the nuggets of gold and wisdom that they need to hear. And then we go do our shows. And then after it's all done, then we reconnect and I share the files with you. We make sure that you are continuing on your growth pattern. For some people, it means, hey, I want to keep doing this. How can I get a show of my own? And we can do that for you. And my next piece of work is around organizing so that I have a team that will actually repurpose the social media for you. So that's my next piece of work.
Perfect. I love that. Look, I just think in unless there's something else that you want to say, I bet there's a million questions People are almost bursting to ask. So how about we open the floor now for questions, and just unmute yourselves, guys. And when you finish the question, if you could mute yourself again, that would be great. So whoever wants to go first.
Hi, Toni. I loved hearing about your. Hi, I'm Mia. Hello. I've actually got a question for you. I'm into kind of halfway through season 2 of my podcast series, A Moment with Modern Mentors, where I've been interviewing largely business women, but business people about what their experience has been. And I kind of use it as a bit of a marketing tool for my own digital marketing business. They're up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but I love the idea about getting a US audience, because I also do coaching, business coaching as well. And I'd really like to kind of explore doing business coaching in the US. So what's the best way to kind of get those podcasts up on the US platforms?
So again, the way that I do it is partnering with a paid platform in the US. So and there's a number of them. I use BBS Radio TV for a number of reasons. I researched all of the platforms, and I wanted a platform who could offer me analytics. So I like to know who's watching, where they're from, the demographics around the percentages, the numbers of views and the numbers of hits. And I also, that particular platform that I use, BBS Radio TV, they do the podcast distribution for me. So not only do you go live to air, but they then convert it to a podcast and distribute it everywhere for me. So that's what I mean about leveraging what they do best, which is show production and distribution, and using that to get into the US market. So from your perspective, you're already doing podcasts, and I'm guessing that you're doing the auditing either yourself or paying.
No, I have an editor, a video and an audio editor, so a podcast editor to do it all for me and to load it up. So it looks very professional. It's top and tailed. It's got intros and outros and supporting video. So it's quite developed, but it's more of a kind of a B2B marketing tool here, rather than helping me get consumer clients.
Yeah, your coaching clients. So I can't say highly enough about the value of a live audience. So the live audience is first component. It's like a layered way of touch points. For those of you in marketing, you'd know that you need multiple touch points for people to engage and / purchase from you. So this process that I use is just about making sure there's heaps of touch points for those people. So they're going to hear you on the live show, then they're going to perhaps re-listen to the podcast. And in my case, then there's the opportunity for them to see you on Toni TV channel. So these are all I pay to play, if that makes sense. And it's an investment that I think is incredibly valuable for me and my business, because just by myself, I would eventually get to this point. But by paying for those things, paying for those platforms rather, that enables me to tap into an audience and predominantly US marketplace instantly, by virtue of the fact that they are American platforms to begin with.
Yeah.
See, the Australian market, it is so small, and Mia, they love Australian coaches. So I could, after this call, we'll put up my email in the chat box for people to connect with me, and I'm happy to jump on a call and tell you what to do and how to go about it.
Awesome. And that would be awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks.
Does that answer your question enough, Mia?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thanks, Mia.
And who else has a question for Toni?
Oh, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Oh, how much?
Let me just go back and have a look.
Yes, how much is the investment?
So the investment for me and my packages. So at the moment, I'm on the last day of a June special. So my June special was 6 packages for the price of 4. And my 4-week package is $4,995. The 6-week is $6,995. 8-week is $8,995 plus GST for Australian listeners. It's converted for American listeners, but that includes so to put it in perspective, if you wanted to do a 15-second ad on a national TV channel, it would cost you in the vicinity of $15,000. So just as a comparison, what you get is me, my time, the strategy, the know-how, the education, and your shows set up. And then you can create or be as creative as you want with those shows. So I've got an international artist coming on the show in about 6 weeks' time, and we are going to talk about how to commission a personal artwork. We're going to demonstrate her artistic process. We're going to talk about the products that she uses and why, and all of those things. So by doing this in non-traditional media sphere, you're actually able to be as creative as you want. You're not governed by a channel politics. You're not governed by time constraints, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper than traditional media and radio. I'm sure all of you've heard about the cost of putting an advertisement in the Super Bowl. Like, it's millions and millions of dollars. So this is about making a cost-effective way for businesses to leverage other people's platforms. So now if you type in Radio Toni, you will see a whole range of things from YouTube to Facebook, and that your name is then related to my name. So the more I grow and progress, you'll always be in that family, if you like. Does that make sense, Sally?
Yes.
And I tell you what, I bet
Fantastic.
you Toni never has to run off and get the charger for the blooming laptop in the middle of a show, in case you thought. I was always going to say, talk among yourselves, guys. I got the eye roll from my husband and everything now. So anyhow, great questions. So guys, let's have another one.
The thing though, Jane, it's live streaming, so there's going to be things that go wrong. Like I said to you before the show,
roll with the punches.
You've got to roll with the punches. And I think that's a good thing for businesses to learn, that, yeah, I'd like it to be perfect each and every show, but it's not going to be. But that's where the gold is. People go, oh, this person's actually authentic and real. And that's what connects you to your audience, that realness. And they're like, yeah, oh, wow, I heard Mia on the show the other day. I want to work with her. I want to get my stuff done by her. So that's what I'm trying to create.
Well,
I think there was another question.
Oh, is there another one
here?
Oh, yes, me. I just wanted to say hi to Toni. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you. I just love what you've said, and it's really touched my heart. It's just beautiful, and it sounds like you really care about people, and that's so important when you're working with somebody. And I have to say that's Jane as well. She's really, been a really warm blanket to wrap around you when things were tough.
Yes.
And she just keeps going, she doesn't stop until it's finished, and she really cares. And, I've been writing my book for 5 years. We've just finished it. But for 5 years, I was searching for that sort of support. It's hard to find.
They're a labour of love.
Yes,
and
they
that's
are.
The other thing that when you've invested your time, money and soul in writing a book, most likely, and you get to the end of it, and then you've got to turn around and start marketing. And I guess that's part of, my co-host and I do author-specific shows, and we do the same thing in a one-off show. So we talk to authors, and those shows are just $2.95 per show. and just flat rate, because we understand and realize that authors are competing in a huge marketplace, and there's lots of people out there doing lots of things with books. And so we wanted to create a safe space for you just to come on and talk about you and your book, that you don't have to share the space with anyone else. Just the whole show is about you and your book,
Yeah, well,
and
that's
why you wrote it and your process.
That sounds fabulous. That's affordable for everyone. So I'll put my hand up for that for sure.
Yes.
You'd be perfect with Toni. And can I just, was it 295?
Yes, fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Everyone can find
I
that.
should get ready for when I share this with my database, Toni.
Yes.
That would be
Yes.
wonderful. That would be wonderful, because
And it's so
we
nice.
like to present.
It's comforting to know that you're going to be asked questions that aren't going to be too challenging, that are going to put you off kilter, and to have somebody that's actually a really kind soul that wants the best to come from you. And so that means it's just not scary then, and most people can really open up their hearts.
Exactly.
So it's fantastic. I'm definitely booking in for that.
Oh, good one.
Oh, Sharon, that's
Yay.
really exciting.
Oh,
'Cause
yes.
the other
Sharon's
person-
wonderful.
Fantastic. I can't wait. I'd actually like to talk about the tricky stuff in life, because not many people are talking about it. It's hard to talk
I
about.
agree. I've been talking about this for 30 years, even before Big Brother. And anyone I knew that was in media, I'd say, you've got to do this reality thing, because everyone's got a story and everyone loves other people's stories, and people weren't doing it back.
They do.
But here it is. It's just like, it's more interesting than listening to a supermodel or a celebrity talk about, whatever their career is doing. We want to know what their lives are and what their secrets are, and so that we feel okay about ourselves, and we know that we're not freaks because we didn't have a perfect childhood or whatever. And it's
absolutely,
you're right, it's healing, and this is what you're doing, and it's a beautiful thing. So Jane, again, thank you for finding Toni.
I know, I'm very grateful too. And I see several people unmuted. So who's next with a great question?
Hi, Jane. Hi, Toni. It's Sheikha. I've got a question for you, and that is, do you decide the channels once the recording's all finished? Do you then decide which channels are going to be best to market in, or do you just send it out to all the channels in the world?
So my policy is to send it out as far and wide as I can, so that someone in Russia goes, oh my God, I need to work with Sheikha, or someone goes, oh my God, I need to read Sharon's book. That's my plan. So the BBS Radio TV has affiliates all over the world. So they, the way that it works is we zoom in to, I keep saying San Francisco. The boys have actually just moved to Houston. The company's owned by these two, by twins, Doug and Don, and they are glorious human beings. Anyway, they were in San Francisco. They just moved to Houston. So we join the platform via Zoom, and they have what they call broadcast servers. And it's those broadcast servers that spread the live show out to the US, Russia, Germany, UK, all over the world, as well as we use a secondary product which streams simultaneously live into YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So I was one of the early adopters to get broadcast rights into LinkedIn. I understand from talking to many people that it's pretty difficult to get those broadcasting rights now, but that's the way that we've set it up, so that we get you live as everywhere that we can across the world. And then the podcast gets distributed everywhere. So I'm talking Listen Notes, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, Spreaker, everywhere. And then the video goes on to binge networks in the US and onto the Toni TV channel app. Now that Toni TV channel app, the registered users on those platforms is about 100 million. And the registered users on Binge TV is about 50 million. So somewhere in there, someone's going to see you and go, oh, wow, that's the deal. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Does
That
that
is
help,
just
Shika?
amazing. Yeah. Thank you. That's amazing.
And in combination with that are my own channels. So Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm actively growing and engaging with those communities. So growing that so that I can benefit those people and businesses that work with me. Yeah.
And do you obviously keep track of the analytics and that sort of stuff, but do you also track how long it takes for someone to feel that growth? Does it matter on the industry or the type of conversations that they have?
It does. It's very, very different. So some people might have not much in the way of engagement when they do their series and have the engagement as time goes on. Like my friend working in corporate governance, she's just, it keeps happening for her. Whereas other businesses, another company that had a wonderful self-development course, they had like instant signups in the vicinity of $10,000 worth of signups over the series of their show. So it is a little bit variable.
That's great.
Wow. Yes.
Mm.
And who's next, guys, with a question?
Hi, Jane.
Hey, Gina.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sally. Thanks so much, Toni. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you're quite right. It's the wonderful world of technology at the moment. I'm actually finding out more and more because mainstream media doesn't do it for me anymore. I met the amazing Jane. Sorry, do you want to say something?
I was just going to say, Gina, the latest research suggests that we will all be going for non-traditional media over traditional media, that we will be picking what we want to watch and when we want to watch it, and streaming and alternates will be the way of the future.
Yeah, that confirms what I've been seeing in the past, I don't know, 5 years. I honestly don't watch mainstream media anymore. And I'm listening to all these amazing people using various platforms, and it's like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
I met the amazing Jane at one of those meetup groups, and I knew she was the one to, help me get my book that I wanted to write for so many years. And so many people would say to me, you should write a book, you should write a book. Anyway, I think that huge big picture of me just writing a book was, just to get that started was incredible. But, it did dawn on me that because my book is really quite a mixed bag. It touches on domestic violence. It touches on mindset. It touches on women in coffee because I'm a coffee expert and I have been for the last 18 years. And it's been a real mixed bag. And it's
very cool.
Yeah. I've got my own coffee roasting company here in Sydney. And so I decided to just bundle it up as a book about resilience. But it's like, as I was writing it, I'm thinking, well, once I've written it, then what do I do with it? Because I really do feel that this book, not only has it been healing for me, but I really do feel it'll have an impact, because I thought it'd actually have an impact more for women, because I was actually, my target market or my target audience was women, but I feel I've had men say to me, when are you going to finish this book? I really want to read it. So I think that girl Shika, the lady Shika, asked the question that I want to ask that, you've already answered it. So just thank you so much, because thank you, Jane, for holding this incredible session with Toni, because now I feel at peace that there's all these incredible avenues. But my one question is, because my story is a bit of a mixed bag, how would you find how would you sort of find that particular channel, or do I promote to the wider audience, or do I be very specific in the target audience?
In terms of your story, that's part of the gloriousness of humans. We've all got a different and unique story, and yours sounds incredibly unique, Gina. So I wouldn't step away from that or segment that. You are a whole human being. Your story is a whole, and it's unique. We're connected by stories. So within your book, there's lots and lots of little stories that you could tease out into a whole range of shows or a whole range of content. And I wouldn't necessarily step away from that. It sounds like a wonderful book, Gina.
And what I would say, Gina, is I think the answer is both. And where you find, once we get the book actually finished, there is the question of, now, is this going to become an online program? Is this going to become one-on-one coaching? And that clarity, that piece that emerges will then, to an extent, make those decisions about how you use the collateral that Toni produces for you. It's all about collateral.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's been wonderful hearing all this.
Yeah, Gina, see, you might decide at the end of that book that coffee is your passion, and you want to develop an online course or a workshop around your passion for coffee. Or you might want to become deeply involved in elements of domestic violence. And so from your perspective, there's numerous opportunities for you to expand in and around one book. But sometimes that takes a little bit of time to tease that out. Yeah.
And it's not to mention the resilience. I love, that Toni's book is called Resilience.
Oh,
yeah, I should show.
I'm so sorry, I missed the first bit.
No, that's okay.
Oh, wow.
But how cool is that? And really, your book is about a whole lot of things in terms of women being successful in male-dominated domains. It's so slice this up in
fantastic content. Yeah.
Also, I'm going to have to buy your book, Toni. Is it? Can I buy it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Yep, just Resilience by Toni.
And it's on Audible.
And it's audio.
Get audio.
And Audible.
Oh, wow. Wow, fantastic. I'm going to have to get that.
Available in all your favourite selling spots.
Yes, available everywhere.
Yeah, available
Sally's got a question.
Oh, Sally. Oh, good on you for watching, Toni. I get too carried away with the conversation.
I thought I'd better check. So Sally has a question. Would you consider extension to the June package deal? Well, Sally, just for you and the listeners on here today, I would consider that. When I put my email in the chat box in a minute, just shoot me an email and say, Toni, you promised to offer me that special for June. So effectively all you need to do is pay a deposit of $9.95, and then we can do your shows 6 weeks, 4 weeks down the track. That just locks you into that special, if that makes sense. Does that sound like a good deal?
I'll say.
Yeah.
And thank
yes. Sorry, I was trying to get off the mute. Yes, that sounds fantastic.
And good on you for asking.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sally. Yes.
I thought I'd be bold and brave all at once and ask. It's not something I would normally ask, but I thought, you know what?
I'm so glad you did.
In the new me, I thought, well, I'll ask, and if you say yes, you say yes, and if you don't, that's fine too. All good.
I tell you what I love so much about this call is that so many of you, and yourself included, Sally, so many of you guys are on a tipping point. Now you can teeter on that for a really long time.
Yep.
Or you can have the guts to say, no, it's my turn. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this year. I just think there's something in the air, and we know a lot of it's not good stuff, but there's a hell of a lot of really good stuff going on.
There is too. Absolutely.
Yeah. So can we squeeze a couple more in? Well, is it okay, Toni? Can you go a little bit over time if we need to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, wait a bit. There's another
Oh,
question
yes,
here.
so that's just Anne
from-
saying that she has to leave. Thank you for coming, Anne. That's fabulous. And who else is unmuted and might like to have a question?
There's another question in the chat.
Oh,
There is. Have you had experience of business branding book topics? Absolutely. They're actually some of my favorite shows to do. So both one-off interviews with authors writing about business books. We did one last week with a guy by the name of Warren James, who has a company called Rapid Online Mentoring, and he's just released a book called Further Faster. And it was a wonderful show. So yes, business branded books lend themselves to either the one-off show scenario or the co-series show scenario. Particularly business books lend themselves to the co-hosted, because then we can really get into the nuts and bolts of the wisdom that you've written in the book, and then we can get to talk about all the other elements of your book as well. So yes, business branding books are great for this format, especially as if that's your intent, then I offer lots of little bonuses like membership to a business group and a membership course, and we'll also give you an additional interview on Radio Toni Everyday Business, a whole heap of little things that we cram into those packages, just so that you get good value, you get education, and you get understanding and go from there. And yes, Jane, I think that that 2021, despite all of its hassles, is proving to be a very interesting year. I also think that for women in particular, I think that in the next decade, we will see amazing women doing amazing things with amazing businesses and bringing back that balance across the world. I actually have a strong belief in the rising femininity across the world. That's not to discount our amazing men and what they do, but I think now's the time for that feminine energy to rise.
beautiful. And look, we can have one more question, or we can finish on that really, really pertinent point.
While you're doing that, Jane, I'll quickly pop in some links for everyone.
Lovely. Well, look, I think this is then my opportunity. I don't see anybody with desperate questions. And of course, you'll have Toni's email address then, so that you can be in touch with Toni and really drill down on anything that you haven't had covered here
already
today.
Social media.
Oh, indeed.
And if you want to take advantage, anyone who wants to take advantage, for anyone who's on the call today who wants to take advantage of that special, just send me an email. Can I have the special, please, Toni, in the subject headlines, and I'll get back to you and we'll work that out. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think you've got a whole bunch of people who are going to go off and have their afternoon on an absolute high, Toni. That has just been incredible. It opened my eyes to the opportunities, the things that are sort of hiding in plain sight. I'm thinking, okay, this makes a heck of a lot of sense. And I'm just so grateful that I can share this with my team, my tribe, my mob, whatever you want to call them, the people who are, in particular, I seem to attract the people who are writing the book to launch their business or to take that step up, to really go exponentially into doing what they know they've been put on this planet to do. And I think
absolutely,
I think there's more things we can be doing together, because there's just too good for authors to miss out on this. So I thank you so much for your generosity, for your time, for extending the period for that special, and just generally for doing what you do, because you're making a big dent in the universe, and I appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
Now, questions are still coming in.
The main thing is the main thing is I just wanted people to know that there's alternatives, and you can create your own success your own way and not be reliant on the traditional way of thinking or the traditional way of doing things. Stepping out of that comfort zone can create something that you much better than you ever dreamed you could have. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a great note for us to sign off on. And look, the recording will be available. I'll send that out to all of you. If I miss anyone, just shoot me an email and say, hey, where's that recording? Wait till tomorrow though, because I'm just really, really interested to see what comes out of this, Toni.
Thank you, Jane. And I'm going to be with Jane in October. I think we're going to do the author.
Guess who?
Provided there's no
23rd of October, author showcase event. Sharon's going to be there. Sally's going to be there. Whole bunch of other great people are going to be there. And Toni, yes, I'll meet you in person. We'll get to have that.
I know, won't that be nice?
Oh, well, the heavens willing in terms of borders being open.
Yes.
Yes,
there's that, but you know.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you so much, Jane. Thank you. Thank you for letting me come on your show today. And bye, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Yep. Over and out, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lovely. Excellent.
Thanks very much.
I love the photo of you in the hat, Toni. So hotty.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
I go.
Thanks.
Over and out.
Bye.